Okay, and then the next thing that we do is opening prayers. And we'll be doing them in English still. So I think everybody has a copy. And to start, we make a little offering with our hands, like a mudra. But if you're new, you can just do it like this, and eventually we'll get there. Unless, okay, Hogan's going to give a demonstration, actually, to everyone.
You have to bring fingers together, and you cross the pinky in front of it, and wrap the pinky, and then just crisscross the middle and forefinger. Yeah, in front of the yeah.
Something like that. Something, yeah. It's your intention.
So the fingers that are up represent Mount Meru, which would be equivalent to Mount Everest, yes. And then the four sides is the four continents. So you're offering the whole world, is the idea behind it. So the first prayer is the offering of the mandala. So we'll do it in English. So here is the great earth, filled with the smell of incense, covered with the blanket of flowers, the great mountain, the four continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of the Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. And then you have your hands in prayer at your heart. And then we do the refuge prayer. Refuge and the wish. We do that one 3 times. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. So we'll start this class off with a meditation, and then after we go into some philosophy about it, mainly today about the preliminaries to meditation. And again, it's the view of the Gelugpa tradition of the Tibetan Buddhism. So we'll start with the meditation. So making sure you feel comfortable, you're seated in a way that you can sit for a little while. And what we'll do is we'll first go through some steps, preliminary steps of meditating, Then I'll get you, if you need to stretch your legs, so it'll be about 10-15 minutes for the first part. You can stretch your legs just for a few seconds, and then we'll move into the second part of the meditation, okay? So try to sit the way you're sitting for the entire time. If your legs fall asleep, it's okay. We'll deal with it after. This way, it's a good practice. I mean, I'm the worst. I have posture has been very difficult for me, so my legs always fall asleep. I'm always uncomfortable. But it's a good practice if we can say sit still and not, disturb our neighbor, I guess, if we have to move around all the time, right? So just try to sit, and unless it gets really painful, if you really can't take it anymore, then maybe move. But anyways, are you ready, Serena?
Yes.
Okay. So closing your eyes. Just making sure that your spine is nice and tall, so your crown reaches upwards. And then your shoulders are relaxed. Your seat is heavy, feeling nice and rooted. Just allowing yourself to arrive here. Just letting everything else go. Just watching your breath. Now let's bring up a person a being that for you is very holy. If you currently have someone that you see as your teacher, your spiritual guide, then please place them in front of you. If you don't have someone right now, just think of a being that you feel you could learn from, that you look up to, that you would like to be like. And you can start with an outline. It's like a silhouette when you picture them. It can be someone like a historical figure also, like Mother Teresa or Gandhi or Buddha. You start to see them as an outline first, and then you start to fill them in. And you make them look really beautiful, like they're at the prime of their youth. And you make them look real, not like a picture. See them 3D, feel the warmth of their body. You can smell them. And you bow down to them. Because if you don't humble yourself, if you don't put them higher than you, then how can they pull you up? How can you learn from them if you don't allow them to? I don't think it's possible. And then you make them an offering. Offer them something precious. Pleasing them with something beautiful. And that can be a material thing. It can be all the jewels in the world. It can just be one flower. It can be like a beautiful sunset. Or it could be something too, like that you want to offer them, something that you did, your practice. Something you've been really working on, and for instance, you're really working on not getting angry, and then that point where someone was pushing you so hard, but you still didn't explode on them. You can offer them something like that. Beautiful night sky, just you can be creative. Now from here we make a confession. So you can clear your conscience here. You can admit to something that you did that you should not have done. It can be something very small, it can be something very big. You cannot meditate when you have things on your mind like that. So confess. And they're so happy with your confession. And for you, a weight has been lifted. Then the next thing is you tell your holy teacher something that you have done that you're happy about. Again, it can be something small, letting someone in the traffic, buying a homeless person a muffin, or it can be something big too. Just sharing something that you would like them to know. Then rejoice in something that someone else did. Something very beautiful and profound to, instead of being jealous at someone else's success, to be happy for them. And your teacher is just so happy you're sharing all of it. Asking your teacher next, traditionally we ask 3 times, if they can please keep teaching you in all sorts of ways, showing up in your life to help you along, help you reach your goals. Ask them to show up so you can recognize whenever it's your teacher's doing something happens for you. And then asking them to stay. Again, we ask 3 times. Just stay from the beginning of your path till the very, very end. And then, if you need to stretch your legs for a moment, now is the time. But still keep your eyes closed to stay inward. And then if you're okay, just getting back in your position. And we'll just continue for a few more minutes here. Just picturing someone now actually Just to go back to the first part of the meditation, your teacher, in this tradition we say Lama, your Lama was in front of you. You make them turn around so they face the same way you are facing. You shrink them down to about the size of your thumb. You place them on top of your head. From that position, you're going to let them slide through all the way down to your heart. You make a nice little space for them at your heart. I'll stay with you throughout the rest of the meditation and the class and the day. So let's picture someone that we love very dearly. It can be a friend or family member. And just picture to give them everything they ever wanted. What would that look like? Might be giving them all of their basic needs so they're met for the rest of their life. Enough food, a house, warm bed, things like that. Just giving it to them with them in mind, not your idea of what they would want. Try to think what it is that they would really like. So you can just give them so many gifts. And not only material gifts, but also mental gifts. Because if you have everything materially, but your mind is unhappy, then what? Then you're always going to want to have more, to try to find that happy moment. So you can give them the gift of peace, contentment, joy, true happiness. They no longer are ruled by their bad thoughts. Just giving them everything that is coming up for you that you want to give them. So material things, a healthy body, and then that healthy mind, what does that look like? And then see them have it all that you just offer. And we move on to a person that you feel neutral about. So this could be, I don't know, someone working at the grocery store, or a friend of a friend of a friend, something like that. Someone you don't have a whole lot of opinions about. Can you do the same for them? Giving them all those things that you would like them to have. And then see them all blissed out, at peace, happy, loving other people. And then maybe you saw it coming, but next will be someone that you dislike. Perhaps someone that's challenged you a lot. Or someone you just don't like. Maybe really don't like. Someone you feel resistance towards. Can you give them everything? Everything that would make them happy. And if that's hard for you, good. Can you work through that? And then we dedicate this meditation to all the goodness that we just accumulated by doing all of the things we just did. Dedicate it to our highest happiness, where we have such an open heart, where we can love other people like crazy, where we're no longer concerned about ourselves. We can just be peace and a gift to others. And then you can slowly come back. So if you want to stretch out your legs, I realized that I didn't introduce our other two new people. There's Anthony and there's Kathy. Could we maybe just do a quick a round of names, just so they know who we are?
Carol. I'm trying to. Now.
Anthony? Anthony?
Anthony.
Not Andrew.
Hogan.
Georgina.
And we have Serena. Great. So the first part of the meditation that we did is called the 7 ingredients, and that's part of what we'll talk about today. What we're going to talk about is the 6 preliminaries to meditation, and the 7 ingredients is somewhere in that list, okay? So we'll get to that in a bit, but we did that last week and this week as well, just to get you familiar with it, and then it should be easier to understand to you when we talk about it. So in the reading, if you are doing the readings, which can be found online, at the end, there is a long, beautiful text, and it's also the 7 ingredients, but it's a little bit different. As I think it's very beautiful, and it's written towards Jason Kappa, who is the person that we're studying the commentary for this course. So you can have a read if you like to see that. So the very first preliminary to meditation is called cleaning up, tidying, setting up altar. So cleaning up. I guess first you'll need to have a space where you're going to meditate, right? So if you have a little corner somewhere in your house, or maybe some people are fortunate to have a whole room dedicated to yoga and meditation, it doesn't have to be that. It can just be a spot beside your bed. But it is nice to have the same spot every day. There's something special about that, to have your little space for it, right? So when you have found this space where you want to do it, it's a nice practice to, sweep around, even if it's not dirty. Just to kind of set the intention of cleaning, and if you can make a little altar, that's very nice. You can put a picture or a statue of a picture of your teacher. They have a teacher, a statue of in this class we would say of a Buddha. Piece of scripture is traditionally often done, and it reminded me of when I was preparing for this, just the cleaning up. It's just a nice practice, especially not just for meditation, just period. If you can, especially in public places or somewhere where you can do it anonymously, right? If you go to a public bathroom or something, they're often quite, not very pleasant. So what I've been doing for years is I'm making it tidy for the next person that comes in. And just picking out toilet paper off the floor or wiping the sink down, whatever. And nobody will ever know that you did that. And I think that's a very nice thing to do, because you're helping people without people knowing, right? It's nice to do something anonymously. And I taught this many years ago to this guy who was kind of a tough, cool guy. I think he used to be in a gang, some people might think he would be. He's not anymore. Very, very sweet guy, but he looks a little tough on the outside. And he told me about a year ago that still, every time he goes to a public bathroom, he just shakes his head and goes, damn you, Mariska, as he's breaking up and cleaning everything. He's just for life. He'll be doing that. But it's good, right? I think it's nice to do something like that. So it sets your attention when you sit down to meditate. I think cleaning your place, and cleaning your mind, right? Which is something you can have on your mind as you clean up. That's what you're doing, because you are creating your own world, as we've been taught in these classes, right? So when you clean, you are cleaning your own mind. You're creating your own paradise, right? So it's a powerful thing. Yeah. So another part of what they do in this tradition is they put offering bowls out, and the little bowls like this, and there's 7 of them, and you may have seen it before somewhere. And the idea is, like in ancient India, if you would have the Dalai Lama over at your house, you give the Dalai Lama a 7-step offering sequence, or however you call it. So that's what we'll do, and that's what I forgot. Would you mind filling that up? Halfway would be great. We do it with water, and the reason why we fill them up with water is because water is free. And if you were to put the actual things in it that they represent, that's great too. You can do that. But because water is free, you won't have the thought of, ooh, it's too expensive or something when you're going out to buy flour or ointment or something like that for an offering bowl, which isn't considered a good thing. You know, when you offer something to a holy being, you don't want to be stingy. You don't want to have those kind of thoughts like, you know, I'm going to buy the cheapest cookie there is. Not. So when we fill them with water, we don't have to worry about that. Plus, water is generally always available, right? So anybody could do that. So I'll show you in a moment how to fill them. Basically, you're offerings for the 5 senses of a holy being. Okay? So you're inviting them to come join you for your meditation. This is all before you start meditating, right? And actually, Tanvi, maybe you can demonstrate. So if you can do it underneath the Buddha there. So what you're doing is you're filling the first cup all the way to the top. And then that one you pour out almost all the way, leaving just a tiny little bit. And then you place it down. Just place it underneath the Buddha, that one that you just put down. Yeah, in a line on the left side. Yeah. And then you do the next. So you pour the next one off almost all the way, leaving a little bottom, placing it beside the first one. No, the other way. Yeah. Leaving about the size of a rice grain space apart. So you keep going all the way this way. So the first one, what they mean is the first one represents water. So especially in India, it's very hot, and someone comes to your house, that will be the first thing you give them, is something to drink, right? So that's what the first one represents. And the second one represents washing their feet. And especially in India, that's a real humble thing to do, because India is pretty dirty. People walk on their sandals and their feet are, you know, far from clean. So when you wash your guests' feet, this is That's a beautiful thing to do. So once you've done that, you fill them all to the top. You start at the left again, and now you fill them generously, all of them, even more generously, all the way to the top. You can even bulge over a little bit. Yeah, and I think in other traditions, you hear about that in the Bible too, right? That Jesus, well, I don't know, I really don't know the stories, but I think Jesus was washing people's feet, or people were washing Jesus' feet. I think it's quite a common thing. When I was traveling in Indonesia, I met this guy who was telling me he was washing his mom's feet, and he was a Muslim, and he would then drink the water. That was something they did in their tradition, which also in that town, it's pretty gross. So that's a pretty beautiful thing to do, I think. Very humbling, very humbling to do that. So you can envision when you wash the feet that you put some oils or some nice scent in the water. Then the next one is a flower, offering flowers. Then incense or perfume. So that's for the sense of smell, right? What else do we have? Then you have ointment, water mixed with holy perfumes that you offer for their bodies. And then before that, is the oil lamp, which would have, it's still clarified butter with a wick in it. And then the ointment, and then food is the last offering. So these are all the offerings that you make to someone holy. So sometimes there's an 8th cup, and that would represent music. It's optional. I'm not sure why it is optional. What I have done is, you'll often see a bell on the altar to represent that one if there's not an 8th cup. No, in my case, because music is such a big thing of my teacher's life, I put a guitar pick on my altar, to represent music, as it must be there. But it is optional. So again, in an altar in this tradition, you would have a picture of a Buddha, and you would have some scripture on your altar also. So these water bowls you could do in the morning, and then at night you throw them out. But you don't just throw them down the sink, because now this is holy water, okay? So you gotta find out a place where to do that. Perhaps in the flowers, or something like that.
Put it in flowers.
Yeah, flowers. Or it'd be nice if you lived by a river or an ocean to dump it there. But some of us don't, so you just gotta be creative and don't put it somewhere where people walk, basically. So, and then you don't leave them overnight. So you do this in the morning, and then at night you can take it down. When you take it down, you then stack the cups kind of on top of. You don't make a big pile like this, but I guess to dry them out, you can put them half over each other to end the day. And you're not supposed to leave them just sitting there, And I've done it, but it would be like offering a holy being like a stale donut the next day, and not very respectful. So it's a nice thing to do that in the morning, and at night take it down, and kind of finalizes the day. And in this tradition, you say, okay, I'm ready to die now. I've completed this. I think Janjit asked before, can you drink the water? Do you remember that? He asked that, right? If you don't, if you don't want to, I don't know, maybe you don't have plants or you don't know where to put it, or you just want to drink. Yeah, you could drink it. So this is a nice way to kind of set up your intention for your meditation, right? So you have cleaned your room, you set up your altar, and then you, let's see, then we prostrate. We do 3 prostrations like we did at the beginning, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then the 3rd preliminary would be taking your proper posture. Okay, so now you're ready to sit down. And we're doing a different class on posture, so we're not talking about that today. But basically, if you can do a full lotus, then that would be ideal. But if you don't, then you do what you can. So this 3rd preliminary has then the 3 parts. So you go getting your proper posture, and then you go for refuge and you think about bodhicitta. So we'll talk about what that is. We did a whole course on refuge, the last course. So someone who was in that course might be able to tell me what that means, going for refuge. Yeah. What does it mean, doing that? What does going for refuge means in a general term?
Going for safety.
Yeah. So you're putting your hopes in something that you hope can help you, right? Like if I'm sick, I take refuge in going to the doctor. Like protection. Yeah. Yeah. Kids running to mommy for whatever, right? It's going for refuge. So here we're about to meditate. So now we have to have refuge on our mind. So we are hoping that what are we hoping? What are we hoping when we try to go for refuge before we meditate?
Well, we are putting ourselves in a receptive mind, a mind open to what the teachings offer, and to be
Yeah. So you're hoping that by meditating, it's not just something to do, right? You want something out of it. You're hoping to get some kind of result, and that biggest result that you could get when using meditation as a tool could be becoming enlightened, right? Becoming so filled with love, and you just want to help other people.
we're disciplining. We want to discipline and train our minds
Mm-hmm.
to put it in to be able to be receptive for that. To be
Yeah. I think that's true. So you are thinking you're gonna get something that will make you happier, right? you're choosing to meditate. You're not choosing to sit down and watch TV, right? So you're thinking, this is going to benefit me. I'm going to hopefully be happier at some point, you know, by meditating. And in they say like the minimum requirement for being a Buddhist is to be concerned with what's going to happen after you die. So if you want to be Buddhist, at minimum, you should be concerned with how you live your life, so you don't have to be reborn in the lower realms. Okay? You don't want to be reborn as a hell being or as an animal or something. Okay? So this is another type of refuge, is you're hoping to be reborn as a human again. So it's not just, meditation is nice to be more calm and whatever, but that's just a side effect. Okay. So refuge and then bodhicitta is to do the practice in order to help all beings, okay, to help other people. So if you sit down to meditate and you have this intention, the desire to reach your own paradise so you can help others. So something like this, if you can think of something like this before you sit down, even if it's very short, it's a big deal, It has tremendous power, so they say.
So we set our intention.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we have so far? So you're cleaning up your room, making the altar. What was the second one? Yeah. And then, posture. Sorry? Yeah, posture, and then going for refuge and thinking about bodhicitta. So they kind of go at the third preliminary. So you go in your posture, go for refuge, think about bodhicitta. They kind of go together, or they're grouped together in the third preliminary. So then the fourth preliminary, before you start your meditation, is visualizing the merit field.
Sorry, so going into refuge thinking of bodhicitta is the same as creating intention?
Well, it's part of it, yeah. So then the fourth preliminary is to visualize the merit field. Now, what the heck would that be? What would that mean? What is a merit field?
Refuge?
What is desirable?
Would it be like your teacher?
Yeah,
What's that?
yeah, teacher. So what is a merit field? A merit field is you can say, instead of field, you can say garden, right? If I communicate right now with Tessa is my merit field, okay? She's my garden in which I can plant my seeds, okay? So if I'm nice for Tessa, I'm planting nice seeds in the merit field that I'm, experiencing. Now, according to Buddhism, there's benefits of different merit fields vary. Right? So, for instance, if I take care of an animal, that's great. But if I can take care of a human, then that's better. And why is that better? Because humans have the opportunity to become enlightened. Animals do not. generally do not in this life. Okay, and humans can in this life. Okay, so I would get more virtue by helping out people than animals. And then there's different levels in people. Okay, if I give something to someone who really needs something, it would be more beneficial than giving something to someone who already has everything, right? Or someone who's ill would be a little bit better than, you know. Parents are a very high merit field, okay? And the reason that is because they got you here. And it doesn't matter if you're friends with your parents right now or if they've not treated you very nice for the last few years. It doesn't matter because they made you. You're here. And it takes a lot of effort to keep a baby alive, you know, or, you know, birth a baby and then, you know, all the effort in keeping the child alive and fed and teaching them how to talk and all of that, okay? So I know some people don't have a good relationship with their parents, but that doesn't matter, you know? You're here because of them. So they are a high karmic object, you say. And then there's the teacher. The teacher is very high karmic object. Why? Because they're the ones that can guide you to get enlightened. So they're way up there. And then, of course, the other realized beings that you see as bodhisattvas are very high too. But you could say the teacher is standing in for the Buddha. So whoever you see as a teacher in your life is the one who's bringing the teachings to life for you, right? So they're very important. And we can take that for granted because where we live, we have so many teachers all the time that are teaching everywhere. And, we almost feel like, whatever, it's not such a big deal. I can just go see a teacher when I want to, one that's coming through or one that's teaching here or there. But actually, it's a very rare karma to have a teacher or to see someone as a teacher. And you can lose them just like that. And it's hard for us to realize that just because we're often flooded with teachers. So I think it's a good thing to think about that. There's many, many people in this world that don't have that. And in Asian countries, it's very normal that a teacher comes through town once a year. So you get to see your teacher very rarely, right? And you might not even have a private audience with them or anything. So I think it's a good thing to kind of contemplate that we're very fortunate and to live in a land where we can just go and receive teaching. So don't take it for granted, because it can just shift on you just like that. And all of a sudden you won't be able to hear it anymore, or you don't feel like going, or your body is not, you'll be sick every time you want to go, or something like that. It can shift. Okay. So the fourth preliminary was visualizing the merit fit. So you visualize that teacher that you feel connected to. And, as you study more, there'll be more teachers that you'll study from, like all the commentaries. And you can add all of those to your merit field. You can make it big and put all these teachers there that resonate, or maybe they don't resonate quite yet. You just know them by name. But I think it's fine to just start just with the one person that you feel a connection with, right? Okay. So then the next step would be purifying obstacles, collecting merit. That's the fifth one. And this is the 7 ingredients that I spoke about earlier that we did in our meditation. Okay. So now you're really sitting down and you're starting to meditate, and you're going through those steps that we did. And it's a nice way to get yourself all ready for meditation. Because it's not easy to have a great meditation, just plop down and you meditate. You know, to go through these steps, you're setting your intention, you're getting your mind all ready, and then, you know, you can do these 7 ingredients that we did, and it just sets the tone, and you're already much calmer, most likely, and then you can snap into the meditation that you choose to do after that. And this can be a meditation that you choose, or if you have a teacher, they can tell you what you should be meditating on, what should be, you know, your focus for a while. Often it's nice to do one meditation, stick with it for 2-3 months, and then move on to the next one. I think after a few months you might not feel as, you know, maybe you get bored. I don't want to say bored, but you know, it'd be nice to have something fresh. But it's nice to stick with something every day, and then you'll see results. Okay, so can we surround? So the 7 ingredients. The first one is the prostration. So before you sit down, you do the 3 physical prostrations, and now you're doing the mentally. Okay?
So all of these are frustration?
Sorry?
So you're saying all of these are frustration?
No, I'm saying
Sorry.
that we start the meditation, these 7 ingredients, we started with a mental prostration. But before we sat down, we were doing 3 prostrations to our altar. So, mental prostration now. So the idea is when you do physical prostration, in this tradition, and it is different in different traditions, okay? But here, when we have our hands together, we put our fingers or thumbs inside, and it's representing a jewel. So you're offering a jewel. And in other traditions, it's not like that. They also say you shouldn't have your fingers wide, just have them close together. There's something said that you'll have a lower rebirth if you do your fingers wide. But I really strongly believe that if your intention is pure and your fingers are wide, then your intention will win, you know? But I think it's good to do it in the correct manner. So you, as we prostrate, we touched our forehead, right? And then our mouth, and then our heart. So in Tibetan Buddhism, they believe that your mind is at your heart. So you're asking body, speech, and mind of a Buddha. you want to become like that. You want to have a pure speech, a pure mind, okay, and a pure body. So that's what it's representing. And then you go down. You're supposed to go down quite slowly. And you're hoping that you can attain the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. So you go down slowly, then your palm touch the flat on the ground. And then apparently you should think, I hope I don't go to hell. And then you go up really fast. And does hell really exist? I cannot prove it to you. So that's something we can study later on, and you'll get proofs for it. So it's okay if you don't believe in it. But when you start to understand the teachings of karma, then most likely you'll find it quite possible that there's such thing as hell. So that's what we did first in that beginning of our meditation, right? We did that bowing down, then we made some offerings, mental offerings, right? And then we did the confession. And this is nice, it's nice to open your heart, open yourself, and honestly admit your wrongs. Okay? And then as you profess this to, confess it to a holy being, you try to imagine that now you're pure of it, you're done. And it's not about guilt, okay? It's not feeling guilty. You know that in Tibetan they don't even have a word for guilt. That's really a Western thing. So the way you can think about it is like you accidentally drank a bottle of poison, and you are like, I shouldn't have done that, But you're not guilty. You don't feel guilt, okay? But you feel sorry it happened, right? So like that, you feel sorry that you have done something you should not have done, and then you let it go. And God, it feels good. I love confessing. I confess all the time. It's good. It's a powerful practice. Better yet, not to do the things you want to confess in the first place, of course. But it's nice to just be honest, right? To be honest with yourself and don't pretend you're something you're not. So this is purifying you when you confess. Now and then you rejoice, and that's also a great practice. Okay? You're happy about something that you've done. And you're also happy about what someone else has done. And in the scriptures it says that if you are rejoicing in someone else's deeds, you get 10% of the merit. So that's an easy way to collect some virtue right there, right? Very easy. You can just sit on your couch and be happy for other people all day long. Hey, that works. But it's so nice because it's so opposite of our normal reaction, which is jealousy. I mean, maybe that's not normal for everyone, but it certainly has been for me. And it's yucky. Jealousy is yucky. It's so beautiful to do the opposite of what might come natural to you, right? Just be happy in what other people accomplish and rejoice for them. Yeah. And if you do something good yourself and you review it mentally, so you're happy about what you did, you're also making it more powerful. So it's great. So these 7 ingredients are really meant to purify you and to collect good virtue. Okay? So we clean ourselves by confessing, and we collect deeds with the other steps. Okay, so then the next thing we did is we asked for holy teachings. We asked for the teacher to stay and teach you, guide you. And, you know, they say that Buddhas are capable of taking any form, and you don't know who they are, and they can teach you in any way. So even in objects, apparently, right? It can be a rock or a tree, or but they can also show up. They can even show up if you think that you've mastered patience and then you bump your head, you know. You can see that as an act of the Buddha. Just reminding you that, okay, you're not quite done with your anger here, right? You still have something to do. And it's kind of beautiful to be in the world in that way. Just think, you know, you can just find teachings everywhere. You're being reminded everywhere of, you know, anything, anything you need to work on. And you can start to see people different too. You can be a little bit suspicious, you know, when someone's pushing your buttons and you're like, oh, okay. It's a Buddha trying to teach me something here, you know.
So, you know, I got a little bit stuck with that there when you
Yeah.
said animals, you don't get that much virtue from them. Yeah, I'm sure it's got something else, but then you say anything could be the Buddha, so can't an animal
Yeah,
do that?
can be.
So
Can be.
why would then it not be virtuous to, help them?
I'm not saying it's not virtuous. I didn't say that. Yes, of course, anyone, including animals that you help, is extremely virtuous. And I do think that it depends on what's on your mind. If you truly think that the animal's a Buddha, then, you know, it'll be way more virtuous than you think it's just a dog. It will be different. You will absolutely collect virtue of helping animals for sure. But what they say here is that humans can become enlightened in this life, and that's why it's more virtuous to help people. But yeah, sure, if you have a certain thing on your mind that this animal is actually a holy being, then I do think that will affect the way you collect karma. Yeah. And including with humans too. If you see them as high, even though they might look like normal, then you will collect more virtue too. Yeah, it's all the way you perceive things. Yeah. So yeah, you can be careful and look at everyone as someone having something to teach you. And then the next part we did was we're asking the Lama to stay and not leave, and not take it for granted, you know. And if you have a teacher in the flesh, then you should ask them from time to time too to please stick around, because there's a story that the Buddha was dying, and nobody asked him to stay as he was dying, so then he passed on. So don't take it for granted that they're always going to be there, because you don't know. You don't know. You don't know that about anyone, right? Don't know that. Then the last part was the dedication. So this is more after the meditation. So now you move into the meditation that you want to do, and then when that's done, you do the dedication, and you dedicate the merit of what you've done. And you wish that this good could bring you to a perfect state where you can help others.
Mariska, the sixth one is the meditation. The seventh one is
The sixth one is you ask your teacher to stay, and then 7 is dedication. But yeah, you could do this just as a meditation, you know. So then the 7th ingredient is your dedication. You do it right then. Is that confusing?
well, I think I just wrote down mental prostration, mental offering, confession, rejoice,
Mm-hmm.
ask teacher to stay. So that's why.
Okay, so you're asking them to teach, and then you're asking them to stay, and then it's the dedication. And then, like we did in the meditation, then you can absorb them into your heart, which is quite a nice thing, I think. And it's nice to make them a nice little room in your heart and make it the way they like it. You can be creative, yeah, it's your meditation. So, one more thing. What is the difference between a prayer and a dedication? That's a question in the homework for those who do their homework. So a prayer is a general wish to achieve some spiritual good. So it's a general wish. And a dedication is you have done some stuff that you now bank towards a certain goal. So you have a specific karma that you've collected, and this karma, these good deeds that you've done, you dedicate them to, we could say, to the purpose of becoming a Buddha for the sake of all beings.
So to dedicate to someone, is that the same thing?
Um,
Like at the end of the yoga class, we dedicate to someone.
Okay, so then you make it like an offering to someone. I guess, yeah, you could dedicate it to someone. Yeah.
It sounds like I don't know the meaning of dedication, but it seems clear this one is if you have something to dedicate
Yeah.
instead of just wishing that you will get it.
Yeah. Well, but you can wish that for someone else too, so I guess that could be dedication. So you've done a yoga class, you've accumulated good virtue by doing a yoga class, and then you can offer that, dedicate that to someone else's happiness or something. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. But remember that we did in the last course where I'm not saying you shouldn't do what you're saying, it's very nice to dedicate it to other people's happiness, but we also want to get to enlightenment as fast as we can so we can help other people. So it is a good thing to dedicate it to your own enlightenment. And then, once you reach that state, it's way easier to help beings than it is if you're not enlightened. But yeah, you should do both. You should do both. Yeah.
So with this offering, is it just for the Kalampa?
The Kadampa, they have started this, yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen other Buddhists, Chinese ones, they actually have a bowl of fruit.
Yeah, yeah.
Different offerings.
Oh yeah, there's many different ways.
Yeah,
But the Kadampas, yeah, they started it, and this is something you see in the Tibetan lineages, but yeah, it's not wrong to do it in a different way at all. And if you're used to doing it a different way, then stick with that. That's fine. I think it's better not to mix and match too much. It gets confusing, right? But I'm not saying at all that another way is wrong or anything like that. No. It's mainly about your intention, right? That's the big thing. And yeah, whether you have one bowl with fruit or you have 7. Yeah. Are there any other questions? Okay, so another thing that you'll see in your homework is, I spoke about that text in our reading that Jason Kappa wrote. And this is called The Thousand Angels of the Heaven of Bliss. That'll be another homework question. Of the Heaven of Bliss. It's very beautiful. And so that's the class. No, that was quite a bit of information. I hope it's clear. If you have any questions, you can email me or ask in next class or if something comes up. So next week we'll be here, and then the week after we skip 1 week. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, so we'll end the class with the prayers, and then we prostrate again. So at the end of the class, what we do is we do that offering of the mandala again, and then we do the dedication of the goodness of the deed. So we'll stick with the English. So we'll make again our little mudra with our hands, and don't worry too much about it. Here is the great earth, filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers, the great mountains, the 4 continents, wearing a jewel, the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam. And then the dedication. So you have your hands at your heart, and just one time. By the goodness of what I have just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. Thank you. Thank you, Serena. So we're going to prostrate and then done. Thanks for joining us, Serena.
Thank you, Serena.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.